Hello, it's Kate. I'm going to talk about the wilder habits. So these habits are the habits that make you resilient and adaptable. And when most people hear about these habits, they're like, no thanks. I don't like that. And the reason we don't like the habits that are making us more wild is largely because we're creatures of comfort. So we are attracted to that which makes us comfortable, as opposed to that which wakes us up in terms of an awake and alert and adaptable physiology, an awake and alert and adaptable mind. So these practices they're largely a training of the mind, even though you're using your body to do them. And you're infusing your mind into your body, and that's part of what creates the coherence, this mind-body coherence. So you'll become much more intuitive in your needs and your bodily needs as you age. So these habits, these wilder habits are the most basic habits that I have found. They're like the shortest, quickest practices or essential rules for you to live in an awake, alert, resilient body. And I've tried to make them as easy and straightforward as I possibly could. Wim Hof. Let me just say this. I've practiced pranayama techniques for years. I find Wim Hof's breathing technique is the easiest to teach, and it's the easiest to consistently do. I find his app, the Wim Hof app, it makes it even easier to do it. Basically, it makes it easier to track your progress. It's easier to actually follow it and do it and keep up and keep along without having a live teacher in the room. It's pretty amazing. It's a good app. I really suggest that you download that app. It does make it easier. In the YouTube playlist, there's Wim Hof breathing. So if you don't have a phone and you don't want to use an app, just use the YouTube playlist. So if you have an internet connection, then just use that. And do a couple rounds. I mean, even doing 2 rounds early in the morning is going to make a difference. So these wilder habits, and I'll go through each one, should take you 10 to 30 minutes each morning, most days. Some days you might find yourself, the more you do them, that you want to do it longer. Like for instance, I just did a 75-minute Wim Hof breathing session because that's what I wanted to do today, but yesterday it was 10 minutes. Visualizing yourself waking up and doing these habits as you're going to sleep, that's called mental rehearsal. It makes it easier to do these habits right when you wake up. So what are the habits? So you wake up, and you've already visualized yourself doing this, and you get out of bed, and you use the bathroom, and you do your bathroom things. And then you take a shower, whether you normally shower that time of day or not. You just take a shower first thing. And then you end the shower on cold for 15 seconds. And then the second week, you build up to 30 seconds. And the third week, you build up to ending your shower with 45 seconds of cold water. This cold water does a number of things. It relaxes the physiology into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is rest and digest. Even though it seems like you're freaking out, you'll learn how to relax and exhale and learn that you're not going to die when there's cold water. You'll also notice that your mind becomes more alert. Your brain becomes more awake. And it should start to feel good, and that's a relative term, but it'll start to feel good over time. So often the things that feel good in the short term are not good for us in the long term. And the things that feel bad in the short term or feel uncomfortable is usually a better word. Those are the things that, create an enormous amount of ease in the long term, and we start to crave them. The same thing's true with eating a healthy diet. If you normally eat junk food and you start eating a healthy diet, more fruits and vegetables, for example, initially you won't like it, but over time you won't like junk food. And that's generally the way that habits work. So you're going to start with a cold shower, or the shower. If you're more advanced, like if you're someone like me and who's been doing cryotherapy for years, you might start, I just generally start my day with a cold shower. And mine, right now, it's around 1.5 minutes. That's how I like to start my day. By the time you watch this, I bet my cold shower will be longer. All right, then the breathing exercise. So you're going to go to a mat, and I do recommend a yoga mat or a yoga blanket. somewhere that you go to do your breathing practice, and getting in the routine of doing it at the same time every day, like doing the same thing at the same time every day, makes it easier over time. You develop a rhythm. Soon what happens is these habits become automated or automatic. Like you didn't think about brushing your teeth last night before you went to bed, you just did it because that's an automated habit. And that's what we're looking for with these wilder habits, is that they become automatic, automated, not making a choice. Right? It's the choiceless choice. And that's what you're going to train yourself into do during this challenge. So then you'd use the Wim Hof app, or you'd use the YouTube thing, and you just follow along the breathing exercises. They're pretty straightforward. It's a fairly deep, rapid inhale, exhale cycle for 40 rounds, 30 to 40 rounds of the breath. You end on an exhale, and you relax without inhaling, meaning you hold your breath after an exhale in an oxygenated state. So the cells of your body have received a lot of oxygen, and you learn how to relax without inhaling. And this also flips on the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode, tend and befriend mode. And it activates your immune system. So you're learning how to strengthen your nerves, and as you do, it organizes your immune function. All right. After a few rounds of the breathing, depending on how many you want to do that day, just take a moment and rest. Just lay down or sit up and rest. Just meditate or just be in silence. It's pretty simple. And that allows your physiology to recalibrate. If you're new to breathing exercises, that's important. If you've experienced in breathing exercises, you'll know you want to do it because you're in the bliss body. It feels really good. It feels really good. It's the feeling of being full or fulfilled with nothingness, with no thingness. There's words like pranatva from Sanskrit or shunyata from Buddhism that describe this state, the state of the feeling of, it's a scintillating emptiness, and it's delicious. So just sitting for a few minutes and just getting attuned to that, that's part of your physiology. That's part of an awake physiology, a physiology that can replenish itself, that can regenerate. And that's what you're training your body and your mind to do. All right, so you've done the cold shower, you've done the breathing, and the next thing is to stir your pot and get over yourself, as Naveen Mikan says. So she's this phenomenal yoga teacher from New York City, and we're using the first 10 minutes of practice that she teaches at the beginning of most of her classes, where you're on all fours and you're breathing deeply, you're inhaling and exhaling, and as you inhale, you're sucking your gut in towards your spine, and as you're exhaling, you're sticking out your rear end and your throat, and you're lifting the crown of your head. And so you're getting full flexion and extension of your spine, moving from your breath on your hands and your knees. And it's fast. Now, I just recommend to watch her and be guided through it and just turn it on every day. Just start doing it, even when if it's uncomfortable, just kind of keep doing it. And soon what'll happen is you'll notice that you feel good afterwards. It's maybe hard to do during it, but you feel good afterwards. And that 10-minute time investment's not really a big deal. Now, the reason it's so important to go on to all fours is it opens your shoulders and it opens your hips. If your shoulders and your hips are open, you get flow in your spine. You get flow from the crown of your head down to the bottom of your tailbone. So you're preventing back issues. You're circulating energy, nutrients, blood, through your organ system, through your endocrine system. So you're enabling your body to normalize, but also to optimize in an oxygenated state for the day. And it's a 10-minute time investment. It's not big, but it has big effects over time. And then you're gonna maybe, if you have time at the end of 10 minutes, do the standing forward bend. And Naveen will walk you through it. It's not great quality audio or video, but just listen. Because the teaching is world class, I promise you. I've been around so much yoga instruction. And the reason I'm choosing This 10 minutes straight from Naveen, not me teaching Naveen, but just straight up Naveen, it's that good. Same thing with Wim Hof. The reason you're listening to that on the breathing app is it's that good. It's coming from source. It's coming directly from someone who understands higher levels of how our human physiology is designed to function. All right, now, the fourth wilder habit, that's part of the challenge, is intermittent fasting. And you have access to lessons on intermittent fasting from me, teaching you about the different metabolic types and how to choose how long a day, per day, you should have as a fasting period, and how big or small a window you should have as a feasting period. And it's pretty much that simple. Starting from wherever you're at, say you're right now fasting for 13 hours, like the last time you take in calories at the end of the day and the first time you take 10 calories at the beginning of the day, there's 13 hours. That would look at maybe you're done eating by 9 p.m. and you break your fast at 10 a.m. That would be a 13-hour fast. Or 7 p.m. to 8 a.m. That would be a 13-hour fast. And that's a good start. What you'll see in the intermittent fasting guide for your metabolic type that I wrote is that you want to start to push that, especially as if you're not in your 20s, say you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, you're going to want to start to experiment with longer periods of fasting. So that might look at first like a 14-10, 14 hours fast, 10 hours feed time, eating meals without snacking in between meals. This starts to allow your digestion to go into rest and digest mode. Then you might try a 16-8, 16 hours fasting, 8 hours feed time. Or an 18-6, 18 hours of fasting with a 6-hour feed window. That might look like noon to 6 p.m. or 2 to 8 p.m., depending on your schedule. Then you might even try now and then a 20-hour fast with a 4-hour feed time, which might just look like a single meal in a day or a snack and a meal. Now, the longer your fasting time, the more your body goes into autophagy. Self-phagy is to eat. What does that mean? Well, your cells are eating what they don't want. They're eating bacteria, they're eating viruses, they're eating free radicals. And in this process, what happens is inflammation decreases. The cells, if you allow autophagy to go on for long enough, like we'll do in the fast mimicking diet, the 5-day fast mimicking diet, which is the challenge within the challenge, where we're going to go deep into autophagy, is the cells start to digest inflammation in the physiology. The cells start to digest even precancerous and cancerous cells in the body. And there's phenomenal science on this. That's in our Yogahealer Challenge YouTube playlist. So, with intermittent fasting, the important thing is that you do it, that you just start, and you start to notice, like, how long do you fast for? And it might be uncomfortable if you're continually eating throughout the day, and if you drink throughout the night, and you're taking in alcohol-based calories or sugar-based calories, then all of that counts as feed time. Now, as long as we have longer feed times than fast times, as long as that ratio is 13 hours or less, we're sourcing our energy from our blood sugar. Now, we're designed to source energy from our fat tissue, but our body won't burn fat unless there's not sugars or there's not nutrients available in our blood. And that transition from having a constant steady state of nutrients in your blood, creating blood sugar, to the fasted state where there's not sugar in the blood and the body goes looking for fuel, so it goes looking for the adipose tissue, looking for the fat stores, that can be uncomfortable. That can bring up emotions. That can bring up cravings. But if you expect that and you drink hot water between meals and you take walks and you're gentle with yourself in the transition time, you'll find that you get through it, and then you start to develop true hunger. And true hunger happens after you've been burning fat and the body's ready for new nutrients. And that's more or less the practice. These practices, these 4 habits, the cold showers, the Wim Hof breathing, the on all fours for 10 minutes opening, the breath body, and the intermittent fasting. These are habits that you can depend on for a lifetime. These are habits that if you do them daily, you'll still be able to get on and off the floor in your 80s. You'll have an open breath body. You'll notice that you'll be able to increase your ability to relax with higher levels of awareness. And that's something that our nervous systems are designed to do. It flips on the adaptive immune system. If we're not in that, we're in a reactive experience. We're in the sympathetic nervous system, which means we're accelerating every aging factor. So the choice is really ours. Radiant longevity, that's the promise of Ayurveda. These practices are, to me, yes, they're a bit, in the beginning they might seem extreme, but over time they just seem sane, and everything else seems like a little less than a full human experience. All right, so that's it, almost it. One more thing. Commit to doing it every day. These 4 habits every day, preferably first thing in the morning. Just knock it out. Get it done. Do the hard things, because doing the hard things makes life much, much easier. Makes aging much, much more fun. And it makes you a more intelligent human being, the human being you're designed to be. So do these hard things every day. Some days it might be a shorter cold shower. It might be a shorter breathing practice. It might even be shorter on the all fours. It might be a shorter fast time, but still do it. And then certain days what'll happen is the more you do it, you'll be like me. I want to do a really long breathing practice. I'm going to do a longer yoga practice. I'm going to take a longer cold shower. I'm going to have a longer fast time. And you'll do that because it feels good. It feels better than anything else. And that's really what we're aiming to experience here in the Yogahealer Challenge. All right, I'm Kate, and I'll see you around.